He rolled up to the bash with this insanely gorgeous chick. Someone poked fun at him. "Dude, that's more your vibe. By the way, what caught your eye in Mia?" He gave a lazy grin. "Never dated a regular girl before. Figured I'd give it a shot." I chilled outside the door. No tears, no drama. Didn't go in to call him out. I just knew deep down that this was the end for Alex and me. Alex ghosted me for a month. Actually, over the past half year, he's been acting kinda distant, but whenever he crashed at my place, he clung to me all night. I felt a bit lost. Thinking back to our last hangout a month ago, that night Alex had a few drinks. I rocked the new nightgown my BFF hooked me up with. When I stepped out of the bathroom, Alex's stare shifted. It felt like we were back in the wild early days of us. By the end of the night, I nearly thought I was gonna pass out in bed, but the next day, he ditched and stopped replying to my calls and texts. I'm pretty laid back. When Alex ignored me, I tried reaching out a couple of times but quickly stopped looking like a total idiot, until some classmates started dropping hints, asking if Alex and I had beef. They'd seen Alex with different girls a few times, each one stunning with killer figures. Alex seemed tight with them. I couldn't help but glance in the mirror and saw plain old me. I've always been a nobody since forever. Growing up didn't change that. I stayed average. Makes sense that Alex would get bored with me, but I wanted to give it one last shot. Fight for us. After all, I really liked Alex way before he even knew I existed. I'd been secretly crushing on him forever. I pulled out all my dresses and tried them on. Ended up boldly picking a burgundy slip dress. I curled my hair carefully and slapped on some light makeup. Tonight, a friend was throwing a birthday party. Alex would be there. I missed him. Wanted to see him, bring him home. The birthday bash was pretty swanky. I didn't roll in with Alex, so it took me a minute to find my spot. By the time the waiter showed me in, the vibe was already lit. The room was dripping with elegance and glam. Even though I put in the effort to dress up, I still faded into the background. So no one noticed me as I walked in amidst the lively crowd. All eyes were on Alex and the stunning chick next to him. I'd never seen a girl so fine. Looking at her, I couldn't even feel a bit of jealousy. She was just standing there in a simple black dress, long hair flowing, pearl earrings, barely any makeup. She stood confidently next to Alex, the two of them, a perfect match, looking like they belonged together. Friends couldn't help but tease him. "Alex, you gonna introduce her to us?" With a beauty like this, even last year's Miss Universe would look dull. "Yeah, this is more your taste. By the way, whatever you saw in Mia?" At the mention of my name, the crowd finally remembered that Alex had a girlfriend, me. The mood got super awkward, but Alex broke the silence. "Why is everyone so quiet?" "Haha, we're just curious." "Really? After all, when you started dating Mia, it really blew our minds." Alex gave a casual smile. "What? Never dated a regular girl before. Thought I'd give it a try. Of course, she's kinda too basic." Everyone laughed again. I stood in the back, unnoticed in the corner, watching as Alex and that girl were surrounded like stars around the moon. 2 years had passed, yet it felt like I was back to square one. Alex was always the life of the party, sitting pretty at the top of the social ladder. And me, always the average girl, blending into the crowd. I didn't go over to look like a fool, but I didn't cry either. The sadness was heavy, it numbed me. Yet when I saw Alex shielding that girl from drinks, standing protectively in front of her, a sharp pain hit me, like a needle stabbing through, drawing blood. Back then, loads of gorgeous girls chased after Alex, but he chose me, and he genuinely settled down, shocked a lot of folks. I used to foolishly think I was like that lucky Cinderella in cheesy romance novels, the one who tamed the wild prince. But now I've totally woken up. I knew in my heart this was the end for Alex and me. On the way back, I got a message from Alex. "Why didn't you come tonight?" "Wasn't feeling well, so I didn't go." Alex didn't reply. I shoved my phone back in my bag, watching the fleeting night scenes outside the car window. Somehow, I suddenly remembered the night we made it official. Alex cornered me in an empty hallway. I was nervous, panicked, and confused. Yet there was a hidden joy and anticipation. Mia. Didn't expect him to know my name. When he said it, I looked up at him instinctively. The summer night breeze was cool, but sweat was dripping down my back. and my palms were sticky and damp. I've been noticing you for a long time. I've always thought you were adorable. Alex walked up to me, smiling. Want to be my girlfriend, Mia? Suddenly, I closed my eyes. Sitting in the speeding cab, in the bright yet dark night of this bustling city, I let the tears silently fall down my face. After a few drinks, Alex's head felt a bit dizzy, so he put down his glass and headed to the balcony. He pulled out a cigarette and just lit it when a friend walked over. Someone said they think they saw Mia. The cigarette in Alex's hand paused slightly. When? His friend glanced at him and lowered his voice. I think it was when they were joking about how you ended up with Mia back then. Suddenly, the cigarette tasted different to Alex. He stubbed out half of it in the ashtray. The rolled-up sleeves of his shirt had a faint jasmine scent. At home, Mia liked to put her grandma's homemade jasmine sachets in the closet. For some reason, Alex thought of the jasmine tea Mia would make him whenever he was drunk. Everything Mia liked was just like her. A little plain, easy to get tired of over time. Yet somehow, the scent lingered, catching you off guard when you least expected it. Do you think Mia will be mad? His friend asked, a bit concerned. Alex was sure, no, even if she is, she's easy to please. So what do you really want? Mia or Miss Lee? His friend asked. Alex lit another cigarette. When he finished that one, he finally raised an eyebrow and smiled. Can I have both? His friend seemed surprised. You're not planning on breaking up with Mia? Alex shot him a glance. Why should I? Mia's so obedient, so easy to handle, even though I'm tired of her now. Breaking up wasn't on his mind, but right now, Alex didn't feel like comforting her. Mia would end up comforting herself anyway. After that night, it was like Alex vanished from my world. I stayed at my bestie's place for a few days. After I calmed down a bit, I went back to my spot near school and packed my stuff. Before leaving, I double-checked to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. Then I locked the door and bounced. I'd applied for an exchange program at a southern university. It was for 2 years. I'd be leaving in a week. Once I saw Alex's ride from afar, near the school. That same stunning girl from that night got out of the car with him. They hit up a street vendor and grabbed some grub. It was a late spring afternoon. Around 4, the sunlight was chilling through the leaves. Students and couples passing by all had youthful, radiant faces. I stood under the camphor tree, holding a stack of books, dressed in the most basic sweatshirt and jeans, watching the guy I once loved easily fall for someone else. How could I not feel sad? But the spring sun was gorgeous. I was still young. It felt like there wasn't much I couldn't bounce back from. A little over 2 weeks after I hit the South, Alex called me for the first time. I was just leaving the library with my arms full of books when I heard his voice in my ear, a voice that suddenly felt so foreign. Mia, you in your dorm? Or where are you? How about I swing by and pick you up? I stayed silent for a moment before finally responding. I'm not in the dorm. I'm not in Hong Kong either. Where'd you go? Mia, I signed up for an exchange program. I left a week ago. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you talk to me about it? Alex's voice suddenly got loud. Alex, I've been waiting for your call all this time, and now that it's here, I can finally say it. Mia? Alex's voice was urgent, like he had more to say, but I cut him off. You were the one who asked to start this relationship, so now I'm the one ending it. Alex, let's break up, and please don't call me or try to reach out again. Mia. Before he could say more, I hung up. Alex called back almost immediately. I didn't answer. Once the ringing stopped, I deleted and blocked all his contact info. At that moment, I felt a weird sadness. But more than that, a deep sense of relief. Alex yanked off his tie and tossed it aside. Maybe it was the booze making him irritable. Or maybe it was the fact that the usually chill Mia had silently bounced and called the breakup. That caught him off guard, but Alex was never one to dwell. Born with a silver spoon, Alex had always gotten what he wanted. There was nothing or no one he couldn't have. Mia was the only girl he had publicly acknowledged. Unlike other women, she was different. And as long as he didn't say it was over, Mia could never leave. Alex grabbed his phone and dialed a number. You've been in the South recently, right? There's something I need your help with. Yeah, don't hurt her. I'm not doing this to get back at her. He just wanted Mia to understand that only he, Alex, could protect her. Only by staying by his side could she live freely, without fear. Just as my shift at the tea shop was ending, Anna, one of the crew, called me quietly. Mia, look, that car's here again. I glanced up and immediately spotted the Rolls-Royce parked across the street. The license plate looked kind of familiar. I frowned slightly, almost cutting my finger with the fruit knife. Mia, is he here for you? I sighed and shook my head. Do you really think that's possible? Anna looked at me and giggled. Since moving south, I realized that there were even more gorgeous women here than I'd ever seen. A basic girl like me was just a drop in the ocean, incapable of making even the smallest ripple. That car had been parked outside the shop for a whole week. While the license plate seemed familiar, I hadn't connected it to myself. After my shift ended, I changed into my clothes, grabbed my bag, and bounced. As I walked past the Rolls-Royce, I hurried by, like I had the past few days. Didn't spare it a second glance. But this time, the car door suddenly opened as I walked by. Startled, I instinctively stepped back to avoid it. But the man who stepped out had already called my name. Are you Miss Mia? And you are? No need to be nervous. Miss Arjao would like to meet with you. Zhao? I don't know any Zhao. The back window slowly rolled down halfway. In the dim light, I saw Jay sitting inside. We didn't really know each other well. It was only through Alex that I occasionally saw him at parties. We barely talked, never really interacted. Alex's crew was full of rich playboys. They were notorious for their wild antics and the constant parade of women. Jay would sometimes join them for sports or poker nights, but I never saw him bring any girls along. I even once commented to Alex how Jay seemed like someone who kept to himself. At the time, Alex got jealous, pulling me close. And what about me? You're saying I'm not keeping to myself? Mia, ever since I started dating you, I'm practically the perfect boyfriend. And now, you're talking about other guys. Besides, how many times have you even seen Jay? Do you know what he's like behind the scenes? The Zhao family runs both sides of the law in the South. When he was playing with guns and women, you were still in middle school. Let me warn you, stay away from him. He's ruthless, and he never forgets a slight. If you ever get on his bad side, even I won't be able to protect you. Alex's words definitely freaked me out. After that, I consciously avoided Jay. We'd occasionally exchange a word or two, but eventually, I'd go out of my way to dodge him entirely. And over time, Jay just stopped showing up altogether. I hadn't seen him in over 6 months, not until now, and I certainly didn't expect him to come looking for me. Mia, Jay spoke, his deep voice calling my name. The streetlight outside the car was bright, its glow filtering through the branches of the camphor tree. The light flickered and swayed, casting shifting shadows over Jay's sharp, defined features. He was dressed in a suit, a lit cigarette held between his fingers. Smoke curled softly around his face. It had been so long since I'd seen him that I suddenly found him unfamiliar. Maybe it was the rumors about him lingering in my mind. A strange sense of fear and unease stirred inside me. Zhao, what do you need from me? I asked, my voice a little shaky. Jay seemed to smile slightly, his gaze falling slowly onto my face. Mia, have you offended someone? Because people in the South have been called in to invite you for tea. I was stunned by what I heard, and after the shock, an overwhelming wave of fear swept over me. Jay had said it politely, but I understood the implication clearly. He wasn't just inviting me for tea, this was kidnapping. But I had only been in the South for 2 weeks. I hadn't offended anyone. Still, Jay wouldn't tell me this for no reason. The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. Without realizing it, tears began to stream down my face. I didn't offend anyone. Zhao, there must be some kind of misunderstanding, right? Whether it's a misunderstanding or not, I don't know, he said flatly. But when someone takes money, they do what they're paid to do. That's how it works. Zhao, I wanted to ask for his help, but I didn't know how. After all, I barely knew Jay. He and Alex were tight, but Alex and I had already broken up. Mia, I'm only telling you this because we know each other. Be careful for a while. Don't go anywhere alone. With that, Jay motioned for his driver to get in the car. Just then, I noticed a few unfamiliar and rough-looking dudes standing under a tree not far away. They had been watching me the whole time. As Jay's driver got into the car, those men snuffed out their cigarettes and started walking toward me. A chill ran down my spine, cold sweat soaking through my back. My survival instinct kicked in, and I instinctively ran toward Jay's car. Just as the car was about to start, I grabbed onto the window, which hadn't yet fully rolled up. "Jay, bad people are after me. I'm scared. Can you let me in? Please?" My voice trembled with fear, tears rolling uncontrollably down my face. Jay sat there, expressionless. Alex had always said Jay was cold-hearted, ruthless, and never forgot a grudge. I had no real connection with him. Why would he help me? The fact that he came to warn me tonight was already more than I could ask for. I lowered my wet eyelashes and slowly loosened my grip. But then Jay spoke. "Get in?" I stared in shock, wide-eyed. "Jay." The door opened and then closed again as the car sped forward into traffic. In the rearview mirror, I saw those men chase after us for a few steps before stopping, unwilling to give up. One of them even seemed to be holding a knife. A wave of fear washed over me. "Jay, thank you so much for earlier." I expressed my gratitude seriously. Jay had been staring straight ahead, but now his gaze shifted slowly to my face. "Mia, what are you going to do next time?" I froze. He was right. I couldn't just stay inside forever. Next time, I might not be so lucky. Even if I called the cops, they couldn't be there every time. And by the way, I don't accept simple thank yous as payment. The divider between the front and back of the car suddenly lowered. The large vehicle instantly felt split in two. Now, in the private space of the back seat, it was just me and Jay. The smell of smoke on him was strong, and there was a faint scar at the end of his brow. Even sitting there calmly, his presence was imposing, completely different from the easygoing Alex. I instinctively shrank back, trying to create some distance between us, but Jay had already reached out and grabbed my arm. "Mia, I'm not some kind-hearted fool who helps people for no reason." His grip tightened slightly, pulling me forward. I tried to pull away, but his grip only grew stronger. With the slight jolt of the car, my nose nearly brushed against his chin. Fear, panic, and helplessness flooded my senses. This was the South. This was Jay's turf. He had connections in both the underworld and with the authorities. I feared pain. I feared death. I was just an ordinary student from an ordinary family. I wasn't the kind of person who could keep her pride in such a situation. I wasn't the kind of person who'd be willing to die before compromising. "Jay, you saved me this time. I'll repay you." I tried to pull my body back, avoiding any more contact. "Really, I'm not just saying thanks. I'll do everything I can to repay you." "Mia, I don't need people trying to repay me." "Then, what do you need?" "I need a woman." With a strong tug, Jay pulled me directly into his arms. My nose hit his firm chest, the pain bringing tears to my eyes instantly. Jay gripped my chin, wiping away the tears at the corners of my eyes. "Mia, remember this. I only take care of my own woman's problems. Other people's lives and deaths have nothing to do with me." The meaning in his words was clear. If this happened again, and I got chased down and killed in the street, he wouldn't even glance at me. Instinctively, I glanced up at Jay again. At this close range, the scar on his brow seemed even more menacing and terrifying. I was caught between a rock and a hard place, completely at a loss. The car stopped in front of Jay's massive mansion. He ordered the maid to take me to rest in one of the guest rooms. "Think it over tonight. Give me your answer tomorrow." "Can I go back to school?" "You can, but if anything happens, I won't help again." With that, Jay turned and walked away. I shut my mouth and stood there for a moment before obediently following the maid to the guest room. Jay stood in the garden, smoking for a while. Only when Mia's figure disappeared from sight did he look away. His phone had been ringing for a while. Alex was calling. He smirked and called him back. "Bro 4, how did things go?" "Just as you expected." Did she freak out? Jay thought back to Mia standing outside the car, her face pale with fear, tears streaming down her cheeks. A strange softness crept into his heart. Yeah, she was really scared, cried quite a bit. I knew it. She's always been so timid. The mockery in Jay's eyes deepened. "When are you coming to the South?" "I'll wait a little longer, until she's really terrified and comes begging me for help." "Bro 4, please make sure your men just scare her. Don't let her get hurt." "Got it." Jay hung up the phone, smoked a few more cigarettes, and then headed towards the main building where Mia was staying. The guest room on the second floor was already dark and quiet. Jay stopped a maid and asked, "Did the young lady say anything earlier?" The maid shook her head. She didn't say much, but it seemed like she cried again. She just fell asleep. Jay nodded and added, "Prepare a Chinese breakfast tomorrow. She prefers that." "Yes, sir." Jay went upstairs and stood outside the guest room for a while. He seemed to be thinking about something, and a faint smile crossed his face. After a few minutes, he turned and went to his own room. I had nightmares all night. In my dreams, I was either being chased by those men with knives, butchered into pieces on the street, or kidnapped, held for ransom, and buried alive. If not that, I was thrown into the deep sea with weights tied to me, quickly devoured by fish until there was nothing left. By the time I got up in the morning, my dark circles were so heavy that I looked terrifying. I stared blankly at my reflection in the mirror, remembering the dangers I had faced yesterday, the endless nightmares. I couldn't stop the tears from welling up again. It seemed like I had no other choice. I didn't dare tell my parents either. It would only make them worry and live in fear. Reporting this to the cops, there hadn't been any actual harm done yet. By the time something did happen, I'd be dead long before the police arrived. With my head heavy and my feet light, I got up, took a shower, and changed clothes before going downstairs. Jay was already sitting in the living room. When he saw me, he put down his coffee. I dragged my feet, practically shuffling down the last few steps with my head lowered. I stood in front of him. "Have you thought it over?" I bit my lip, steeling myself, and nodded. "Jay, it's just—" "Can you give me some time to adjust?" "I can give you time, but I'm not a patient man. It won't take long, I promise." "All right," he agreed readily. I couldn't help but let out a small sigh of relief. But then Jay spoke again. "Mia, come here." I hesitated, but eventually walked over to him. "For what happened yesterday, I expect some form of repayment." As he spoke, he reached out and grabbed my arm. Before I could react, he pulled me so hard that I lost my balance and fell into his arms. Jay didn't give me time to push him away or escape. The moment I landed in his arms, he kissed me. His lips tasted faintly of bitter black coffee. I was so stunned that my eyes stayed wide open. But Jay lifted his hand, covering my eyes. "Mia, close your eyes and open your mouth. Don't move, and I won't go any further." "I told you, don't move." I immediately stiffened, my whole body tensing up, not daring to move. When the kiss finally ended, I was still in a daze. Jay leaned back on the sofa, and I realized at some point I had ended up straddling his lap. He raised his hand and wiped the moisture from the corner of my lips. "Didn't Alex ever teach you how to kiss?" Hearing Alex's name snapped me back to reality. "Jay, Alex and I were together for almost 2 years. You know that?" "I know. So what?" "Then why are you coming after me?" "Because I want to." Jay said this. And for some reason, a flash of irritation crossed his eyes. He grabbed my chin and kissed me again. This time, the kiss was deeper, more intense. When it ended, he bit my lower lip gently. "Mia, since you've broken up, stop thinking about your ex. Don't forget who you're with now." I covered my mouth, muttering quietly. "But you were the one who brought him up first. You're not allowed to mention him either." Okay, on the way back to school, Jay didn't say much to me. When I got out of the car, he didn't leave right away. It wasn't until I entered the school gates that he finally turned the car around and drove off. After that, Jay personally picked me up from school or a nearby tea shop every day. Because of this, the men who had been stalking me never found the chance to make a move. 2 weeks later, as I walked out of the school gates, I suddenly realized that Jay's car hadn't arrived yet. And then from a black SUV parked by the roadside, a few men got out. Instinctively, I turned to run back toward the school, but I was already blocked. The sky was beginning to darken, and I thought I saw the man in front of me holding a knife. In that moment, a bone-chilling fear gripped me, and my entire body started trembling just as I was about to scream for help. A pair of bright headlights suddenly cut through the dusk. The car was unmistakable. Jay's Rolls-Royce. Relief washed over me, and I instinctively called out Jay's name. Before the car had even come to a full stop, Jay swung the door open and got out. Several bodyguards from the car behind him jumped out as well. The men surrounding me immediately scattered, running off into the night. My legs went weak, and I nearly collapsed, but Jay caught me in time, holding me steady. "It's okay now, Mia." He gently stroked my back, pulling me into a tight embrace. I was so shaken that I could hardly stand. I clung to his sleeve, leaning into him. "Jay, my legs. I can't stand." "It's all right, I'll carry you to the car." Jay brushed a hand over my hair, then bent down to pick me up. Just as he lifted me, I heard a familiar voice. "Mia." In the dark night, Alex stood alone by his car. His face was shadowed in the night, making it impossible to read the emotions in his eyes. Jay paused mid-step. Alex gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Bro 4. This is why you asked me to come tonight, isn't it?" Jay didn't deny it. "Alex, you handed this opportunity to me yourself." I simply took it the moment it presented itself. "I don't understand. Bro 4, I've always respected you, called you Bro 4. But what you're doing now, isn't it a bit against the code of brotherhood? What exactly have I done? You know full well about my relationship with Mia." "What relationship?" Jay cut him off coldly. "If my memory serves me right, you told me on the phone that you and Mia were already broken up." "Yes, Mia broke up with me, but I didn't agree to it. That's why I came up with all these plans to win her back. Breaking up doesn't require your agreement. If she says it's over, then it's over. Fine, even if we're broken up. Mia is still my ex." We were together for 2 years. Alex took out a pack of cigarettes, lit one, and his smile turned mocking. "Bro 4, did you really have to pick up a woman I've already slept with? Did you really have to do this to piss me off?" My body stiffened instantly, and my fingers tightened around Jay's sleeve. Jay remained silent, but I could feel the cold fury radiating from him. I took a deep breath and turned to face Alex. Alex seemed reluctant to meet my gaze. "Mia, Alex, you said you were here to win me back. So where do you get the audacity to think I disgust myself by going back to a man someone else has already slept with?" "Mia." Alex's face twisted with anger. Jay suddenly chuckled. "What's wrong? She's not wrong." He carried me over to the car. "You should head home." He placed me in the back seat, then gently brushed his hand across my face. "I'll handle this. Be good." "Jay." I instinctively tried to hold on to him, but he had already closed the door and instructed the driver to leave. As the car started, I looked through the window and saw Jay's cold, resolute profile, with no expression on his face. He took a few steps toward Alex and landed a heavy punch straight on his face. I didn't know if Alex would fight back, nor did I know who would come out on top. As the car turned the corner, everything disappeared from sight. Jay didn't come back until late that night. When I heard the sound of the car, I immediately got up from bed and ran to the window. It was a bit far, so I couldn't tell if he was hurt. Jay stepped out of the car and took a few steps before suddenly looking up at my window. I instinctively hid behind the curtains. It wasn't until the tassels of the curtains dug painfully into my palm that I snapped back to reality. The whole evening, I had been worried about Jay. Realizing this made my heart race. The door to the room suddenly knocked. I stood there for a while before finally walking over to open it. The moment the door opened, Jay pulled me into a tight embrace. I smelled the faint scent of blood, and panic surged through me. "Are you hurt?" I tried to push him away to check his injuries. "But Jay is not hurt. He wanted to hurt me, but he's not capable of that. But I smell blood. It's Alex's blood." "Don't worry." "But I smell blood. It's Alex's blood." "Don't worry." Jay kissed me gently before releasing me. "I'm going to take a shower. Wait for me." As the sound of water filled the bathroom, I lit a jasmine-scented incense tablet. Over the time I had spent with Jay, I realized we had many similar tastes. We both liked Chinese-style breakfasts. We both liked jasmine tea. Even the books and movies we liked were the same. All the incense used in his house had a jasmine scent. These jasmine incense tablets were intricately made, and I really liked using them. The fragrance slowly filled the room, calming my restless heart. Once, because of Alex, I had decided to stay far away from men of their class. Because girls like me, ordinary girls, couldn't afford to play their games. We couldn't take the losses. All I wanted was to live an ordinary life. I couldn't adapt to the indulgent, hedonistic lifestyle of their circle. Mia. Jay came out of the bathroom, his hair still wet. He leaned against the doorframe, his damp black hair messy and pushed back. His chiseled features stood out clearly in the dim light. I was sitting on the sofa looking up at him. What's wrong? Alex got hurt. Do you want to visit him at the hospital? I thought about it for a moment and then shook my head. No. Jay seemed to smile slightly. Really not going? No, I'm not. Two people who have gone their separate ways shouldn't have any ties anymore. Jay tossed the towel aside and walked over to me. As I looked up at him, he leaned down and kissed me. Mia, I've come to collect my reward for tonight. The cool water dripping from his hair fell onto my face, but the warmth of his lips and tongue was scorching. Jay's long, strong fingers tangled in my hair, gripping the back of my head. He pulled me closer, urging me to respond to his kiss, until our breaths were entwined, tangled together. My body melted like spring water, burning with heat. Jay caught the familiar scent of jasmine again. 2 years ago, that scent had belonged to Alex, but now, 2 years later, it was in his arms. Yet he didn't rush to claim her, to take advantage of her. He had enough patience to wait for the day when Mia would fall for him on her own. What he wanted was mutual affection, something that would come naturally, not a heart forced into unwilling submission. Mia had fallen asleep by his side, but he wasn't the least bit tired. His mind drifted back to the fight with Alex earlier. What had truly broken Alex wasn't seeing Jay holding Mia. It was realizing that the scent of the jasmine sachets, once exclusively his, had now become Jay's. After realizing this, Alex had demanded, Jay, when did it start? When did you begin coveting her, wanting to make her yours? The truth was, it had all started the first time Alex brought her to one of their gatherings. Everyone in their circle was the same since childhood. They had been surrounded by beautiful women of all kinds. Jay especially had become immune to beauty, but when he saw Mia, standing obediently beside Alex, addressing him as bro, for with such innocence, he couldn't help but take a second look at her, to be honest. She wasn't stunning, she was too slender. A bit plain, just an ordinary young student, still carrying the air of immaturity, but her wide, round eyes, like a cat's, were both innocent and endearing. She was so pure, without the slightest trace of ulterior motives, the kind of person you could read completely at a glance. Her feelings, just like her, were straightforward, so pure that it moved him. Alex liked her quite a bit back then, caring for her attentively, and the way she looked at Alex was even more touching. At that moment, Jay knew. Alex had realized it too. He had discovered a side of Mia that no one else knew, a side so lovable. Otherwise, how could Alex, with his notoriously high standards, have truly fallen for such an ordinary girl? In the dim moonlight, Jay glanced down at the sleeping Mia. It had taken longer than he originally thought, but in the end, he had gotten what he wanted. He knew Alex hated him for using underhanded means to steal Mia away, but Jay didn't care about that. If he had cared, he wouldn't have taken action against Alex the moment he started wanting Mia for himself. The whole process had taken quite a bit of effort. One by one, the beautiful women Alex had entertained were discarded, until finally, Gloria was the one to sway him. At the time, Jay was far away in the South, and when he heard the news, he was so excited that he almost lost his composure. From then on, every move Mia made was reported to him in detail by the people he had left in Hong Kong. She cried for Alex, heartbroken over his betrayal, and Jay, all the way in the South, was equally restless and sleepless, until the day he heard that she had moved out of Alex's house, ready to attend a university exchange program. He had Gloria keep Alex occupied on one front, and on the other, he made sure Mia's move to the South went smoothly. By some stroke of luck, everything went according to plan. But Jay would never let Mia know about all this mess. He believed that a man's actions often required ruthless methods. Yet, deep down, he didn't want Mia to know just how low he had stooped. He was fully aware. if he had to do it all over again, he would make the same choices. He never regretted anything he had done. He loved her, and naturally, he needed to keep her close, to spoil her in his care. The 2 years of restless nights had finally come to an end. Jay leaned down and placed a soft kiss on Mia's brow. She was so peaceful in her sleep, curled up on her side, small and delicate. Her breathing was soft and light. The nightgown she wore carried the scent of jasmine sachets. The fragrance seeped into him, filling him with a sense of contentment and joy that stretched deep into his core. A smile tugged at his lips as he carefully gathered her into his arms. He closed his eyes and soon drifted into a deep, restful sleep. When I stepped out of the library, I saw Alex. I had thought that after 2 weeks, he would have already returned to Hong Kong. But here he was, still lingering. The bruises on his face had mostly healed, though a few scars remained. He looked thinner, and his eyes no longer carried that familiar arrogance. Replaced by a certain melancholy, I held my books and stood still for a moment before slowly walking forward. Alex called out, "Mia." It had only been a few months since we separated, yet the person standing in front of me felt like a stranger. I stopped under the shade of a tree. The evening breeze rustled through, casting dappled shadows across Alex's face. He looked sad. "Are your injuries better now?" I asked. There was no deep hatred between us. From the start, I had always hoped we could part on good terms. Loving him was my choice, and I never regretted it. "They're better," Alex said, his gaze fixed on my face. "That night you were there, weren't you? You heard everything." I paused, remembering the night he was referring to. "Yes, I was there. I heard it. Mia, I regret it. It's all in the past," I replied calmly. "Alex, we were never right for each other, and you weren't wrong. I'm just an ordinary girl. We're from different worlds." "That's not true." "Mia." Alex shook his head with a bitter smile. He took a step forward, as if wanting to hug me, but I stepped back. "Alex, it's getting late. I should go. You're with Jay now, aren't you?" I didn't deny it, but I didn't nod either. Things between Jay and me were still too confusing for me to figure out. I could only go with the flow for now, but Alex stubbornly blocked my way. "Mia, even if you won't forgive me or get back together, you shouldn't be with Jay." "Because of his background?" I asked. "It's not just that," Alex said earnestly. "Jay is ruthless in everything he does. Mia, if you get involved with him, it will be nearly impossible to get out later. I used to be close with him," Alex continued, his tone turning bitter. "I know you came to the South for school and asked for his help, but look at what he did. He stole his own brother's woman. What wouldn't he do?" "Alex," I said, looking at him steadily. "So those men who were following me, were they your doing?" Alex froze for a moment. "Yes, but Mia, I would never hurt you. I made sure they were only there to scare you. I just thought, since you're alone in the South with no family or friends, you'd be scared and naturally think of me. So you knew I'd be scared. You arranged for those men. They wouldn't really hurt me, but I didn't know that." "Alex, do you know how terrified I was when I saw those men chasing me with knives that night? I don't care what Jay's intentions were. All I know is that, in my moment of greatest fear, he was the one who saved me. Mia, there's nothing more to say between us. Go. Don't come looking for me again." I pushed past Alex and headed toward the school gate. "Mia, if you don't want to be with Jay, I can help you. Think of it as my way of making it up to you, all right? This is between Jay and me. I can help you. Think of it as my way of making it up to you, all right? This is between Jay and me. I'll talk to him myself." Alex didn't follow after me, and I didn't look back. When I reached the school gate, Jay's car was already there. But this time, he wasn't waiting inside. He was leaning against the car, smoking, lost in thought. When he saw me, Jay immediately put out the cigarette. I stared at him for a long moment, half a minute. Maybe then, without a word, I turned and walked in the opposite direction. Jay, clearly alarmed, quickly chased after me, but I ignored him, holding my books tighter and walking faster. Mia. By the time we crossed another intersection, Jay had run out of patience. He grabbed my arm. I shook off his hand and kept walking. Jay stepped directly in front of me, blocking my path. "Mia, you can either come back with me and we'll talk this out calmly, or I'll carry you back. You know I'm not above doing it." I glared at him, furious, and for the first time in my life, I cursed at someone. Jay, do you even have any shame? Instead of being offended, Jay looked delighted. What would I need shame for? All I want is my wife. Who's your wife? Get lost. I turned to leave again. Mia, if you keep walking, I really will carry you. I was so angry that I kicked him hard. Jay stood there, not moving, letting me kick him several times. I put a lot of strength into it, and after venting my anger, I felt somewhat relieved. Seeing me stand still, Jay immediately walked over and pulled me into a tight hug. He buried his face in the crook of my neck. Mia, if I had to do it all over again, I'd still do the same. I didn't say anything, just gave him another light kick. Jay, you say you love me, so are you willing to wait? Wait for what? I pushed him back and looked up into his eyes. Wait until I graduate. You want me to be celibate for 2 years? Just answer the question. Are you willing? Jay brushed my hair away from my face, cupping my cheeks as he leaned down. When his lips touched mine, I heard his response. Mia, I've already waited 2 years for you, but kissing is allowed, right? Kissing is allowed, but you can't do anything against a woman's will, only if I agree. Fine. Jay looked slightly reluctant, but still asked politely, Mia, may I kiss you now? A proper French kiss. I wanted to scold him, but I couldn't help but laugh. And in that moment, Jay took the opportunity to cut my face and kiss me deeply. Over the next 2 years, Jay kept his word, but somehow gorgeous women kept showing up around him. Jay was a man with a bad temper, and he was ruthless in his actions. When it came to women who tried to seduce him with ulterior motives, he didn't hold back. But strangely enough, they just kept coming. Even I found myself mesmerized by some of them, especially the few who were so stunning that even Gloria, who had once charmed Alex, paled in comparison. Yet Jay seemed completely blind to them, unaffected. It wasn't until right before our engagement that I found out from one of Alex's old friends. All those beautiful women who had appeared around Jay in the past 2 years had been deliberately sent by Alex. It was his way of getting revenge on Jay for sending women to him years ago. That's when I finally understood that Gloria's appearance hadn't been an accident. It had been carefully orchestrated. Jay may have been underhanded, but Alex's inability to control himself was his own fault. It was poetic justice. In a way, after all, Jay had been troubled by these women for the past 2 years. But now, Jay and I were about to get engaged. Alex had finally given up. On the night of our engagement, as soon as I stepped out of the bathroom, Jay pressed me onto the bed. The overwhelming scent of jasmine filled the room, enveloping us both. Jay didn't take things further, though. He just held me tightly, his face pressed against mine, his fingers intertwined with mine. He held me so tightly that I could hardly breathe, and only after a long moment did he finally release me. He untied my bathrobe. In the soft, flickering light, I turned my face away and closed my eyes. Jay's kisses trailed down, stopping at the top of my chest. I heard him laugh softly. All the effort I put into taking care of you for these 2 years paid off. What are you talking about? I was both embarrassed and annoyed, giving him a playful kick. Jay caught my ankle and slowly lifted it higher. His hot kisses rained down on my body like droplets. Mia, you've grown up. Jay! His lips caught mine, silencing my complaint before I could even finish calling him shameless. Over the past 2 years, his kissing skills had clearly improved. Within moments, I had melted into his arms. The jasmine incense quietly burned. It would take about 30 minutes for one tablet to burn out. But the scent would linger through the entire spring night, and this long night had only just begun.